So last night, the Spyder King of Kings Invitational took place. They had two brackets, a total of $100,000 in prize money. So I think the way that broke out was $10,000 for second place, $40,000 for first place. So 10 plus 40 is 50, times two for the two brackets is 100. So I think that's where the number came from. But that's actually a lot of money, or a lot of prize money for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And as a result, they drew out a lot of really high-level competitors. I think pretty much everyone who was here was either a black belt world champion at some point, or at least a belt level world champion, like a purple belt or brown belt. And that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the 100 kilogram bracket for this video. I'll do another video for the 76 kilogram bracket. So in the first round, this is a bit out of order, but we'll go first round, semifinals, and then finals. Big match that we had was between Kaynan Duarte and Leandro Lo. So a couple of world champions here. Leandro Lo, I believe, is a 7-time world champion at a minimum. And then Kaynan is the current world champion, also 180cc this year. The match itself wasn't the most active, I would say. So we had Leandro pulling guard. Leandro ends up coming up on a sweep, and as he's coming up on the sweep here, Kaynan actually goes for a guillotine attempt. Doesn't get the guillotine here. It's sort of hard to tell how close it was, but to the ref, it was close enough for an advantage. So as a result, Kaynan gets the advantage there. So he's up 1-0 against Leandro. And from that point forward, there just wasn't any scoring that took place. So Kaynan ends up getting a win, 1-0 over Leandro Lo. The other match on his half of the bracket was a very interesting one between Rodolfo Vieira, who at one point was just tearing through Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournaments, particularly in the gi. Took some time off to transition to MMA, recently had his UFC debut, going against Anderson Muniz, who is a purple belt world champion both at his weight and then at the absolute. He's now a brown belt. But he's beaten a lot of very good black belts in tournaments like this. I think in the Spyder qualifiers, for him to even get a spot in this tournament, he had to knock off some really good black belts. So he gets a shot at Rodolfo, and to the surprise of many watching, Rodolfo, a guy who's known for fantastic top pressure and also great passing, he gets swept here, so Muniz is able to get a little butterfly hook in here. It's sort of hard to tell what the grip was on this side, but ends up taking him over. Coming up on top, gets the 2 points for the sweep. And at this point, there's about 3 minutes left in a 7-minute match. Rodolfo is down, and it's like, wow, is Rodolfo going to get knocked off here by Muniz? On one hand, it would be shocking because if you think about where Rodolfo was at before he transitioned to MMA, an upset like this would be shocking. But on the other hand, Muniz has just absolutely torn everyone apart at purple belt, has beaten some very good black belts. So it could be one of those things where Muniz really shows how great he is and how he probably should be at a black belt level right now. But Rodolfo is able to eventually get a pass here. So ends up breaking the grip on his left side. Sort of does like a back step here. And then on the back step is able to get a really strong crossface with a lapel grip here. Controls the hips. Here you can see the crossface, so he's keeping Muniz from turtling up and giving up an advantage rather than the points. So eventually Vieira gets his 3 points for the pass, takes the lead, gets on top here in half guard with about 30 seconds left. Muniz knows he's down a point, he's got to do something, but doesn't really have the position to get a sweep. So in the process, ends up getting past a mount, and while he's mounted, Vieira quickly locks up an arm triangle and gets the tap and gets the victory. So I'm not sure if the final score here, if they actually scored the past amount plus the mount, which would have been an additional 7 points, so 3 for the pass, 4 for the mount. So in theory, it could have been 10-2 with a submission, but in reality, this was a very close match. Muniz got his one big move for the sweep for 2 points. Vieira got his big move with the pass for the 3 points. And then at the end, Muniz just had to do something to try to find a way to catch up and take the lead back. And unfortunately, he just didn't have the position to do it. So Vieira made him pay. And a lot of respect shown between them at the end. Then we had Tim Spriggs versus Meregali. Meregali catches an omoplata. Eventually, he's going to use that omoplata to sweep. Gets up on top. Does a fantastic job, and I love this grip. It's good for both gi and no-gi. It doesn't even look like he really is grabbing the gi here. But he gets a crossface and then also grabs the far side tricep. And in the process is able to take the back using that. So gets Spriggs back. Gets what's sort of like a modified bow and arrow choke here where he's got a grip on this lapel right here, and then also is going to use his other hand to grip their lapel. Gets off to the side, sort of like in an armbar type position, and gets a submission there. And then the other match on his half of the bracket was Claudio Calasanz versus Herbert Santos. This match was 0-0 at the end. It looked like Claudio was going for a toe hold, and the way that they did this, and you can see it here, they actually zoomed in so much that you can only see the attempt that Claudio had. You couldn't see the attempt that Herbert had. So while Claudio was going for his own toe hold, Herbert counter toe hold and was actually able to get the tap, but it was a verbal tap. So at the time, I saw they stopped. I'm like, oh, well, I guess Claudio pulled the upset here. But in reality, Herbert had actually been the one who caught the toe hold and gotten the tap. So then we go into the semifinals here between a much anticipated match here with Nicholas Meregali and Herbert Santos. Meregali is able to get a sweep pretty quickly. You can see the hook here. I think it was sort of like a butterfly hook, and then had a De La Riva hook with the other leg. Sort of hard to tell there. But he comes up on top, gets on top of Herbert's half guard, where Herbert gets a grip on the collar here, is going to be able to push him away, elevate with his bottom leg, and then come up on top. So he gets 2 right back. So then Meregali is back on top. Here Meregali has a single leg X guard, where he uses that to sweep. And then as Herbert is trying to fight off of his back, he ends up catching an omoplata. It's sort of hard to tell here, but he did have an omoplata on Meregali. So actually with his legs, he's got an omoplata. Then he starts going for a toe hold. And that's where this match really just kind of devolves. So as Meregali is escaping, this is just a screenshot here. It wasn't as forceful as this kind of makes it look. It was just Meregali was kind of extending his leg out, because when you're dealing with a toe hold, you don't want your foot in your butt. If you're attacking a toe hold, you want to put their foot in their butt. So this is just Meregali defending it. Really wasn't a whole lot of pressure on it here, but for whatever reason, Herbert just decides that's enough for him. So he effectively quits here. Just talking, you can kind of see his hands like off to the side, like, hey, what's going on? Here, Meregali's just talking back to him, like, dude, what's your problem? I have no idea what they were saying to each other, so it's kind of hard to tell what was going on, why Herbert felt that he had to stop fighting here. Eventually, the rest like, dude, you guys got to keep fighting, so he penalizes them. Herbert that's still talking just decides he doesn't want to fight anymore, even though he's only down 2 points and has time to come back and score and win it. He just basically gives up a free Americana, and that's it. And then we have Kaynan versus Rodolfo Vieira. So Kaynan ends up sweeping Rodolfo here early on and then just hangs on for the top. But the setup was really interesting to me. So he kind of had like his usual setup where he's got the pant grip and then the collar grip. So he elevates with his right leg, slides his left leg underneath, and is going to get into what's basically like a honey hole position in no-gi. It's a reap, but it's legal in gi just as long as you're not attacking the leg that you're reaping. Sort of a weird rule there, but that's kind of how it works. So you can sort of see it come around here on that reap, and then he's going to extend out and put Rodolfo down. So gets the 2 points for the sweep. Rodolfo isn't able to do anything to score off of his back. So as a result, Kaynan wins by a score of 2-0, which then gives us the final of Meregali versus Kaynan. This match, very tough to score. There were no advantages given, so it just ended up being a ref decision. First time I watched it, I thought that it was a pretty clear win for Meregali. After going back through it and getting some of these images, I still feel like Meregali probably could have gotten it, but it was close. So here we have, I'm trying to figure out what, so 4, 12. Okay. So Meregali had, like that far side De La Riva X guard and had it where, it sort of took Duarte off it, or Kaynan off his base, but then Kaynan was able to get back up and stay on top. So no advantage there for the sweep attempt. Here we have a pass attempt from Kaynan. So he's kind of past the legs here. Meregali comes up, defending the pass. And then Kaynan goes for another guillotine attempt, this time from standing, and Meregali is able to get his head out. You could possibly argue that the pass attempt here was close enough to warrant an advantage for Kaynan. He didn't end up getting one. But if you look at what was the closest to someone scoring, I guess you could make an argument that was Kaynan right here. But that was really Kainan's highlight of the match, was just this little short sequence here. But then they go back to the ground. Again, Kainan's able to, or Meregali is able to sit Kaynan down, but Kaynan doesn't stay down. He's able to recover his guard, or recover his base. Again, another sweep attempt here where he tries to flip him over. Again, Kaynan recovers his base. Sort of gets in a position where he could look to pass, but never really gets all that close. Meregali quickly recovers. Same type of situation. Meregali again attempting a sweep. You see here Kaynan kind of sits down on his hip, recovers really quickly, ends up back on top. So it's not like he was ever like close to being swept, where a ref would start counting like 1, 2, 3, trying to see if he stays down for 3 seconds and then giving the points. But there definitely was action from Meregali to force Kaynan to have to defend. So in the end, you're looking at Meregali having 3, I don't know, you would say relatively close sweep attempts, but at least like noticeable sweep attempts versus Kainan's 1 pass attempt that ended with him trying to go for a standing guillotine. In the end, ref decides to give it to Kaynan. I feel like Meregali was attacking for more time than Kaynan was, but at the end of the day, watching it live, I thought it was a terrible decision. Watching the replay, I can kind of see the argument for Kaynan. But either way, it was a great match. I'm sure these guys will face each other again. I'm sure this could be a world championship final for 2020. So glad I got it just on a random night in November, and definitely appreciate that.